You're listening to an African Elements top news story for March 31st, 2025. Please visit our website at africanelements.org for more daily news. Novi Sad student protests spark change by Darius Spearman. Sometimes, it takes a tragedy to wake people up. In Novi Sad, Serbia's second-largest city, that moment came on November 1st, 2024. A newly rebuilt railway station canopy collapsed, tragically killing 15 people. This wasn't just an accident, it quickly became a symbol of deeper problems. The reconstruction project involved secret deals with Chinese companies, raising serious questions about corruption and government accountability. Novi Sad, a key city on the Danube River in the Belgrade-Budapest rail line, found itself at the center of national anger. The grief and shock soon turned into action. People, especially students, took to the streets. Tensions flared when ruling party members reportedly attacked students and professors holding a peaceful commemorative blockade. This violence only fueled the fire. Consequently, university faculty shut down, suspending classes indefinitely until specific demands were met. This incident highlighted long-simmering frustrations over state corruption, biased media, and political violence that had gone ignored for too long. The students in Novi Sad weren't just protesting the station collapse or the attacks on demonstrators. Their demands cut much deeper, aiming at the system itself. Firstly, they called for the full publication of all documents related to the faulty station reconstruction. This speaks to a fundamental need for transparency, something often missing when powerful interests are involved, whether in Serbia or anywhere else in the world. Furthermore, the protesters demanded the dismissal of all charges against fellow demonstrators and accountability for those who attacked students and professors during the blockade. This reflects a call for justice and protection against state-sanctioned violence. Finally, they demanded a significant 20% increase in the budget for higher education. This isn't just about money. It's about investing in the future and valuing education as a public good, a struggle familiar to communities fighting for resources globally. These demands show the tragedy became a catalyst for addressing systemic issues of corruption, violence, and underfunding. What makes the 2024 Novi Sad student movement stand out is how it organizes itself. Eschewing traditional hierarchies, the movement operates through direct democracy. Decisions are made collectively in large plenary meetings where everyone has a voice. Additionally, smaller working groups focus on specific faculties or tasks. There are no designated leaders calling the shots. Power rests with the collective. This grassroots approach aims to build consensus and ensure everyone feels invested in the movement's direction. This structure marks a departure from previous protests in Serbia. Unlike past movements that often allied with opposition political parties, these students are deliberately keeping their distance. Instead, they've chosen to partner with trade unions. Together, they are pushing for broader systemic reforms rather than just a change in political leadership. This strategy suggests a desire for fundamental change in how the country operates, moving beyond partisan politics to address core issues affecting students and workers alike. Facing restricted press freedom, Novi Sad protesters have turned to social media as a vital tool. They use platforms creatively, employing humor and wit to get their message across. This allows them to bypass traditional media channels, which may be biased or controlled, and speak directly to people both inside Serbia and internationally. This digital activism is crucial for raising awareness, mobilizing support, and countering official narratives, a tactic familiar to activists fighting for justice worldwide. Beyond the digital realm, the movement has employed innovative strategies to build real-world connections. Long protest marches have extended into rural areas, reaching communities often overlooked by urban-centric movements. This outreach serves a dual purpose. It fosters solidarity by connecting students with diverse populations and helps dismantle the climate of fear that the government may try to impose. By showing up and engaging directly, protesters demonstrate shared grievances and build a broader coalition for change, strengthening the movement's foundation. While the situation in Novi Sad unfolds, student activism faces challenges elsewhere too. In the United States, recent events highlight crackdowns on protest, particularly concerning Palestine solidarity movements. At Swarthmore College, for instance, 15 pro-Palestinian student protesters faced suspension. This included one low-income student who potentially faced homelessness as a result, sparking outrage over the severity and impact of the disciplinary actions. This raises serious questions about how universities handle dissent and the disproportionate consequences faced by vulnerable students. Furthermore, reports indicate pro-Palestine student activists are facing significant pressure, including mass arrests and even detentions by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, such as the case of Mahmoud Khalil at Columbia University. Protests against such actions drew over 1,500 demonstrators in New York City. Universities across the U.S. have cracked down on Gaza solidarity encampments. This response has, in turn, prompted reactions like faculty union strikes at institutions like the University of California, UC, and Rutgers, demanding divestment from Israel. It's important to acknowledge what we don't know based on the information provided. Several critical questions remain unanswered. For example, the specific ruling party allegedly involved in the attacks on Novi Sad protesters is not identified, nor is the broader political structure described. Similarly, while the Novi Sad protests highlighted grievances over biased media, the sources don't detail specific instances or evidence of this bias, though they note Novi Sad's broadcaster is multilingual. Likewise, critical terms and concepts related to the U.S. context lack definition or connection within the provided sources. There's no information explaining settler colonialism or its relevance, nor details about ICE detentions beyond the single mention of Mahmoud Khalil. The term affinity groups mentioned in relation to Swarthmore isn't defined. Crucially, there's no data linking the protests either in Novi Sad or the U.S. specifically to HBCU Black student experiences, nor any details on the disproportionate impact on Muslim and Black POC students mentioned in the Swarthmore context. Finally, the sources offer no specific details about the UC and Rutgers faculty strikes or the broader connection between these disparate protest movements. Copyright, African Elements.